Trying to see if I can make this work for you. Hang on. It won't. It just keeps coming out of my speakers, even though I'm telling it to come through the system. I don't know what I've done to it.
Together with family, gathered around to see one another once again. Time for saying thank you, celebrating too. What could friendships mean for everyone? Together again, giving thanks with lots of family and friends. I'm so glad we are together again. I wish this time of year would never ever end. Together with family, gathered around to see one another once again. A time for saying thank you and celebrating too. What could friendships mean to you?
And a TGIF to you all. How's that for a unique and interesting intro for a Have No Sphere on a Friday night? Like I said, you never know what you're going to get around here. Oh, shut up. Look, I don't even know what I'm going to get. Quit. There we go. See. All right, we're good. Welcome to Have No Sphere right here on the Iron Rail Media YouTube channel. My name is Josh Corey. And look, the best laid plans. So apparently there's a power surge at my house while I was at work today. So just as we were getting ready to go live, I went to go wake up my secondary computer, the one that's got my soundboard on it. So I like to play the sounds and the intro music and things like that. So I go over and I click the mouse and click the mouse again and click the mouse again, and I'm start mashing buttons. Nothing. Oh, maybe I turned it off. I could have sworn I put it to sleep after the show this morning before I left for work. But whatever, reach over, guess I turned it off. Mash the button. Nothing. My computer's dead. Apparently the power surge just fried my whole secondary computer. Luckily, I keep my primary shut off just for this reason. We'll call that a lesson learned. Always shut off all your electronic equipment while you're gone, just in case of a power surge, because I'll be damned. Things will happen. Now, as far as tonight's show goes, this is one that has been planned a long time ago. Long time ago.
Way long.
And, well, you know how we do. I just can't keep that many balls in the air, so to speak. And in the process, well, before I jump too far into this introduction, let's say hello to Mr. Zachary Zabala, because he is here with us this evening. Zach, how was your Friday, sir? How are you doing?
Hey, Josh. Hello, everybody. Yeah, not a bad day. Didn't get outside too much. Got a really nice nap in. It was lovely. Woke up on my own accord. I love not being woken up, but just kind of rising at your own leisure. Did some stretching. Got the bubbler going again. I'm distilling some more spearmint oil right now as we speak. So, yeah, life is good. Can't complain. Sun came around, went. Yeah. Another good day.
Can't beat that. Well, we are actually have quite a treat as well. Treat for me, because I certainly wasn't expecting it, because I know how uncomfortable he probably is right now. Well, I don't know, but I can imagine he's probably really uncomfortable right now. We are joined this evening, at least for a few minutes, Mr. Walter Johnson, Flat Earth Head here on YouTube. Walter, how are you doing, sir? How are you feeling? How is everything going?
Fair to middling, I would say. It's hit and miss. This has been, which is mind blower. Had no clue that this would be what cat scratch fever would actually turn out to be. I've been jamming it for 30, 40 years, and turns out it's not that awesome after all. Yeah, I mean, I think things happen for a reason, obviously. So if I had proceeded, with what I had planned for the day, I probably would be in a serious bind. So, because he said it was definitely infected, and manipulated glands, and fun, painful things. So, and the swelling and the fever, and so. But antibiotics, my other favorite. Lots of silver, lots of turmeric, and cats are giving me lots of love because they know I don't feel good. I see you guys in the chat. I just really not that energetic to start typing right now. I may do it in a minute. But yeah, if you see me suddenly disappear, don't be offended. I'm excited to be here though, and glad I could be here one more time this week because I didn't know if I would make it or not today, the way my sleeping has been. You hear the progenitor of my illness right here. No, I don't know which one of them did it, and it's not the scratch, it's the lick. Well, there's your t-shirt. No, truly, it's when they lick.
Cat lick fever.
No.
Yeah.
That's real close, Zach. That's real close to what my shirt's going to say. It's real close, but not quite.
So bad. Sorry, everybody. But be careful. If you have cats and they groom you like they often like to, and they have scratches, you have scratches, that's where it happens. It's not just the scratch, which is what I always assume. Anyway, that's enough about my craft. I'm here. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, if I had my second computer, I would totally still have Ted Nugent queued up right here on YouTube.
I was trying to do that. I think y'all heard me talking in the intro there because I thought we were still wait a minute. I was trying to get my soundboard working, but I wasn't. It's not. So
I've still got a laptop.
Where's my guitar?
Zach was doing a pretty good version this morning. So my week has been a little crazy, aside from the crap that's gone on today. I finally did it. After 4.5, nearly 5 months of vegetation time, I got those plants down there flipped over to flower. Now, some of you may have caught on that I called them plants this time as opposed to girls. Because, well, now that they've started their flower cycle, they're going to start really showing their sexes. And I'm not entirely sure after 4.5, almost 5 months of vegetation time, I even spent that time vegging out females. Apparently, the guy that bought the seeds bought regular seeds as opposed to feminized, which means you're good chance you're going to get some male and female seeds in there. Both of his plants were male. I thought he bought feminized, and he just kind of got fucked with the male seeds, and the odds were going to be in my favor that these were going to be female. But I don't think the odds are quite that high, given the fact that they're just regular seeds and not feminized. So it could go either way. It's only been 3 days, which is a little early to tell. And really, I panicked at 12 hours, literally 12 hours later after their first sleep and they first woke up. I ran downstairs to take a look at them and said, oh shit, that looks like a bunch of grapes. Female plants aren't supposed to have balls. Damn it. But they're real small, real tiny.
Yeah, but it's 2021. Can't we just tell them that they're females?
Can't I just force them to identify as female?
Ironically enough, tonight's show is Flower Night.
Yes. That's what I like to hear.
Nice.
So by the end of the weekend, I should have a better idea one way or the other. I did go down to take a look because of the power surge. My fans kicked off, my humidifier kicked off. So I had to go get my air circulation going and my humidity back up before the show started. And I don't know where the fuck I was going with that. But we're good. We're done. Everything is copacetic down there, at least in the meantime. Hey, what?
Just saying, you did a beautiful job tending those plants.
Well, thank you.
You can definitely see the love and care and intention that you put into them. They look like bonsai trees almost. They're just beautiful, gorgeous. So, it's never a loss. You always learn something. You know, So yeah, no, it's just one of those things. It's, you know, it happens. But just look at all the good that came from those two plants, all that you learned. And, you know, even at the beginning when you didn't have the humidity just right, just imagine what your next ladies will look like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, you learn something. It's not a total loss ever, as long as you learn something from it.
Gamescape. I can actually probably get a couple pictures. If everybody wants to see a real quick glance before we jump into it, just because I've got them. And I am proud of them. They do look like some pretty decent plants. If they end up being female, I'll be really pleased, you know, but if not, then yeah, I'll probably be a little depressed. Here, I think we'll do this one. All right, just load up. There we go. Sorry, fellas, you can't see it right now, but I am showing it to everybody there on Restream. You guys may.
You're like a father picking out that just a perfect picture. He's like, no, I'm not going to show him that one or that one. We're going to show him this one.
No,
yeah.
I'm like the psycho father that says, oh, you're going to see them all. I just have to choose the exact order for this situation. I can't just throw them all at you. No, I've only got two. But the other one does kind of show a little bit of the pruning action that I had done. Yeah, those are 7-gallon cloth pots that I have those in. I don't know if that quite shows the scale, but I guess the milk crates in the gallon jug there does help a little bit as to the size of those girls. That's after like 18 hours, maybe 24 full hours of flower time. I mean, that's just like right after. And then this one is just a little bit of the pruning and the cleaning up down below where you can see, so that's not wasted energy and resources on things that are never going to produce any flowers anyway. Well, assuming it was a female, they wouldn't be producing a lot of flowers anyway. So you direct all that energy up top where they're going to get those nice big cola buds that you like to see.
God, look at the stalks on those things.
Yeah,
they look like baby trees.
They are. Buddy comes over and says, Jesus, they have bark. I said, yeah. They're a little
yeah, old. They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, well done, man.
Yeah, it's a
no
good
matter
time.
The outcome, well done.
Like I said, I'm never going to have to flower another one for 4.5 months. I'll never have a need to unless I'm growing in a closet or I just get a wild hair at my ass. So, but at least I have a really good idea sort of what I'm doing. I mean, I could probably do another run and a half in the time it took me to get the 4 months in. I could probably be smoking some, having vegged it, floured it, dried it, cured it, and broke it up ready to smoke it before those even flipped to flower, which is gross and disgusting. And well, again, should never happen again. But I do have feminized seeds and I have feminized autoflower seeds. So I've still got 12 seeds of my own that I can still pop. I've still got a flower room, provided, you know, I have to cut these down, that I can grow in, and I've got a veg room that I can grow in. So I can still start pumping out stuff if I need to. So veg it out 6-8 weeks, flower for another 6-8 weeks, and be good. Set, done. Not this shit. So fingers crossed, they will turn out female. Fingers crossed. But let's get the hell on with the show. So there's a good thing about being a small channel and not having huge audience like Glowbusters or something like that, where you just have to try to keep track of all these people. What a headache. It's so much nicer having a nice, small, intimate setting so that you can at least see the names. Maybe you don't get a chance to respond to everybody, but YouTube has a nice little app and I can give it a heart, give it a thumbs up, and let everybody know that I at least saw their comment. And our guest tonight is one of those whose names go way back. I mean, way back.
Way back.
Way back. To the point that, again, this was a show that I had wanted to do for a long time just because we like getting listeners on and having just hanging out with the family. That's just how we do. And one thing after another, it's me dropping the ball. That's plain and simple, I dropped the ball. He stayed busy. He was putting up websites and still making content, doing all sorts of good stuff. So I thought, you know what? I'm just done fucking around. I could drag this out a little bit longer, or I could just start throwing out dates and see if we can do it right now. So you may have seen the name Reperception in our chat before, or if you are a listener to our archives, of which there are many, you'll probably see him there in the comment section on many of the videos as well. I'm not even sure if Dave Weiss put this video out, but I think that on the Reperception channel, he holds the record for probably one of the most awkward Dave Weiss interviews I have personally ever seen. So I want everybody to welcome to our humble little show here on Iron Realm Media a fellow that goes by the name of JP. His channel, his original channel is Reperception, and he's kicking off a second channel currently in the process called Land of Mars. So let's find out a little bit what's been going on with JP. JP, welcome to Have No Sphere. Finally, it's an honor and a privilege to get to have you on and talk to you in person, as it were.
That is a mutual feeling, and it goes back even further. I used to hit Walt up all the time in various shows, and I mean, it goes back. It goes back years, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I don't know when it was exactly, but there was a point where I was like, I think I can get in on this panel, and I think it would be a pretty good match just with tone and tenor. I always said that about your show. Tone and tenor kind of matches where I like to go. And I'm a complete spaz, and like I get crazy when it comes to like, yeah, I've done some big shows, and that interview with Dave. I'm so glad you said that about Dave Weiss. It is by far the most crazy phone call I've ever had, internet related. It was off the charts. I still get, it's unlisted now because for some obvious reasons. And I mean, there's still crazy comments coming through. It's just a funny thing. So I'm glad you caught it and you're honest in your assessment of it.
I mean, it was really good. I
loved it.
Are you still married, by the way? I have to ask this ever since that ended. I'm just dying to know that question.
So Dave's last words right before he hung up was, he looked me right in the eyes. He said, "Good luck with that." So yeah, we are separated and happier, if that means anything. And it's our lives are kind of finally, we don't hate each other, but our lives are on a better track, separate in that way. So yeah, it was already, I don't want to say that was the reason, because this is something that had been kind of stewing for a few years. And I just remember hearing you guys talk about your experiences, and man, there was one show where I literally had tears in my eyes. I'd say I cried, but that'd be awful, right?
I'm such a crybaby. So at the very least, you can say I cried, but not as much as Josh.
And I did, and it was, but it was a bonding moment, and you guys had probably no idea, except I was babbling in the chat room, and but I'm glad that timing wise it happened when it did. This is an incredible time for me, and everything from gardening to relationships to cosmology to so many ideas that I just wanted to call in or jump in with you guys. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for having me on.
Well, it is again our absolute pleasure. It's really interesting, tone and tenor, you say.
Yeah,
because I first time I actually heard your voice, it was one of those, because for whatever reason I just had in my mind's eye a younger fella. Yeah, I mean, you're probably younger than I am, probably, but
I'm about to turn 50 in March.
See, look, you're just a little bit older than I am. But for some reason, I had pictured a guy maybe like late 20s, early 30s, right around there is what I was picturing in my brain. But when I heard you speak, I'm like, oh no, this guy's like mature. This is like a real, this is like a man.
Trying, yeah.
But even your voice, you have a really pleasing voice to listen to. And maybe it's you've got a decent microphone and everything else, but when I'm like, oh, like he should have some show. Why are his views so low? So
production quality or production rate. I do a lot of shows, and then when I go on shows and I'm a regular, they do better. So if I go to a bar every all the time, I don't do that anymore. But if I go to bars a lot, the bar would get busier. If I go to start hanging out with in a small group, that group gets bigger. It's happened throughout my life, so not ashamed of that at all.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool. What are some of the other shows you've been on?
So Friday nights, usually I do a show called Shift Happens, which is with a friend of mine named Gigi. And that show's been picking it up. It's on the Fringe FM. I don't know if you know that network. And so I've been doing that. I started about 11 years ago now with a friend of mine. First time we ever podcasted. And I'll go back even further if you want at some point. But at that was my first podcast, and it was called Mr. Midnight Movie Presents or something. And then we bounced around a little bit. We did a show called Inflammatory Talk, which was incredible, and it was off the chain. It was we had the craziest groups calling in, and we still do shows now, and it's called Transparency and Merit, and it's really boring, and so don't go listen to now. It's a lot of issues that I have a tough time digging into. They're my friend's kind of forte. He's into race relations and this sort of thing. I just white guilt and you know what I'm speaking of. I think it's a whole kind of, there's a whole world of it, and then there's all kinds of possibilities within that kind of narrative, and it just doesn't fit I always tell him we live in Los Angeles, I live in the San Fernando Valley, he lives out in LA, and I always just tell him I'm a white guy from the Valley. I don't know what any of this stuff means. I don't get it. It just doesn't register on in my brain. So whenever we go into these areas, I kind of blow it. I a lot of times it gives me the microphone on free reign. There's been several times where our show's just gotten nicked, just taken right off of YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but we are really, really blessed here at the Realm. It seems like we get to say whatever we want, and they don't hit us for that. I mean, we can't play the Smurfs. If we play the Smurf soundtrack or something like that, they'll strike us.
For the Smurfs,
but yeah, for the most part, it's really a breath of fresh air to be able to do that here still, because I know so many channels can't. They can't even say some of these words.
Yeah,
and it sucks. I hate having to chase content creators around the internet. I really do.
Right.
I mean, they all go to a lot of the same places, so it's not a huge inconvenience. Oh fuck, I gotta mash 3 buttons, but I'm just that lazy, I guess, that it just makes me mad that we have to do it. I guess not so much that it's required, but the fact that we can't find one platform that we can just put stuff out to an audience. I mean, we can put stuff out to 10 people on Odyssey, but that's not really the audience that you'd like to have. I'd like to see at least 31 people like we have on YouTube. But then if you have to really censor yourself, what are you telling 30 people if you're not speaking your truth? You're just blowing smoke up people's ass. So you need to find some place where we can have an audience and speak truth. So it is. We are lucky that we can speak our truth. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons we do it, because we're not so hard and fast. Things are this way. This group of people is like this, and this group of people is like this, and that's the way things are. I, at the very least, try to temper the things that I say with, I think that this group of people is like this, because that's my thoughts, and ain't nobody going to be able to disprove that. Ain't no fact checker going to come along and tell me, nope, missing information. No, bitch, that's what I think. So at least I have that we can kind of fall back on it, saying, well, we're not out here saying what things are. We're not making these claims and trying to preach hate speech on people. At the very least, we're just giving our opinion on the way we see the world. So there's that.
There's a lot to be said for intent, and within your content, just sharing the truth. And the most honest channels I've fallen in with have not gotten kicked off. There's been a couple shows I really like that, got poofed, and then I had to go find them. But it just seems like the shows with the most honest kind of content and good intent have stuck around, thankfully.
Yeah, a lot of our scouts love the intent side of things. I know Daz in chat, he's a long time. He is all about the intent. He was changing stuff at work today, he said. Measuring angles and intending them to be, oh, it's off. I'm going to intend it to be right, though. And yeah, he's...
Definitely.
And it's true. We have these powers. And like we were talking about before the show, Walt is having a little bit of trouble fighting this off right now. He's not feeling good and this and that. But the thing is, his body's never been through it before. So as much as he believes and feels and intends for his body to get better, he still has that little bit of doubt where you don't know.
Mm-hmm. Good point, man.
Yeah, once you go through something and you can do it, and your body's going to be able to overcome it with no problem, then that's when the magic starts happening. That intent, that you intending it to just run its course quickly in your body, you intend your body to take care of it, if that makes sense. Yeah, that it's going to happen now, and it just does that much faster. It really is magic.
It also kind of reflects on that whole idea of intent with holding a mental image of your ultimate true self that you're looking to achieve. It may not be, but it's the next step you're getting to. And holding that image is part of getting there, already having achieved it, already being thankful for it. So when things get crazy, which the world here around the house had gotten pretty crazy, just lots of strange stuff you guys don't need to worry about. It's just weird family things and people that we know passing away apropos of nothing, and just crazy stuff. And then the dental stuff started weighing on me. And Liz in chat, she's right there with me, not wanting to deal with it, just because we know how bad it can be and how it's, the stress and the focus gets spread around and the loss of intent, and suddenly dis-ease sits in. So yeah, it's easy if you're not paying attention to it, definitely. And sleeping well, and all the cliches are all part of it. And unfortunately, we have a crazy schedule sometimes with our shows. So, but the energy and the love you guys have been sending has been felt and much needed. Thank you so much.
Get well soon, dude. I went through a hard time. Probably, I guess it was the moment, you always say like, oh, I must be old now. Well, I had one of those moments when I twisted my knee up into a pretzel playing in an adult basketball league. And I was pushing the limits on basketball for this aging body. So I tore my ACL. This is like 7 years ago.
Ooh.
And yeah, the first thing I went into was that not where Walt is. Walt, you're good. I was way like in this like feel like work and what am I gonna do? What, all this, everything hit me at once, like and on top of that, and I'm old. And I tried to I ended up getting surgery and doing the whole, got the cadaver part for my knee and had the mechanic repair it and whatever. So that was good. It wasn't the learning lesson I needed, though. I had to go and do the same thing a couple years later to my right knee.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I did it to my right knee. And that time I went really looking like, what can I do besides the surgery? Even though surgery worked great, I think there was a lot of overcompensation at the end of the day using my right knee. And as I healed and as I got back into playing, doing my normal routines at the time, so I ended up wearing it down and tearing my right knee. And so I was like, what do I do? Where do I go to? What can I do to fix this? And in the end, I don't think I was asking the right questions, or I wasn't doing my due diligence. I just went for the easy. Oh, and on top of all that, I wasn't insured at that point. For the left knee, fine. The right knee, I was really in hot water. I didn't know what to do. And I still wasn't asking the right questions, and I ended up finding a way to get, through insurance and everything, and getting my knee taken care of. It took me an extra 6 months before I could do all that, but I did it. So I went through the surgery again and got the spare part, and had the mechanic put it in again to my other knee. And so, but now I'm reflecting on this, like, did I go the right path? Instead, I changed my trajectory. I accepted where I think I'm at, and just kind of, took it down a notch or 3 for my basketball intake and all that, my high impact sports and stuff. I think all that kind of ended with that second surgery. But man, I don't know if I would have done things differently. I'm just guessing. I probably would have asked even more questions and sought out more maybe alternative. I'll do anything to avoid a hospital or doctor. I don't want to do that anymore. So I don't know. For me,
yeah. But having said that,
I'm
I'm all for a surgeon, though. If you need one, those are the only people I like to go. Well, I don't like to, but I am willing to go see at a hospital. They're not saying take this drug for the rest of your life, this, that, blah, blah, blah. They're there to do one thing. They know what they're going to do. They're usually pretty good at it. And they get you in, they get you out. And yeah, surgery, I mean, yes, if you catch it early enough, it's good. If you don't hurt it super bad, you can do without surgery. And that's great. Yeah. So looking for alternatives is a great idea. But just saying, surgeons, I definitely give my thumbs up approval to. They are necessary sometimes. That's just my little 2 cents on that. Yeah. I don't go to see doctors. I'll go see a voodoo witch lady before I go see a doctor.
Yep. In the end, it did heal and took care of the problem quickest. I don't expect to do it again, but you never ever know.
So how is that once you got it healed and your right one and everything? Do you feel it still? Like, do you ever take that hard step and be like, ooh, I almost did it again? Or do you not feel it at all? Is there no, I've never had any, knock on, yeah, I've never had any ligament or anything like that real bad. I mean, I've sprained ankles, but.
Yep. There's a true test. I think that with the ACL, there's a pop. I think anybody who's suffered that kind of injury has heard it, and you can feel it kind of running through your bones. But you hear definitely it's an audible pop, and I had that in both cases. And I have to say, all things considered, they're great. I do have some aches and stuff now and then, but I would have to say that those surgeries were completely successful, way beyond what I thought. And that's after 7-8 years total, four. So yeah, so far so good.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I know they're coming a long ways with a lot of these surgeries, different types. I know back surgeries used to be real iffy on whether or not you were even going to be better when it was over or worse. You didn't really know. But I know over the last decade, I have a lot of family with back issues. And yeah, they're getting surgery isn't as invasive as it used to be, and it's getting to be a little bit safer, I would say. They're just the techniques are getting, somewhat perfected and all that kind of stuff. And with the way computers and all this stuff are now, they can actually see what they're doing on a screen, like while they're sticking a tube in through your chest into your lung, they can actually watch the tube go up in there while they're doing it. So they have a lot more tools for their trade now. So yeah, surgeries, if it's a necessity, go get the surgery if you need it. Because certain things, our bodies, they're amazing, as amazing as they are, but we push them to limits where they can't come back sometimes without knowing it. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
There's no basketball in nature, right? They'd say. But I one interesting thing is I love talking to guys or gals with had the same surgery 30 years ago. You absolutely, it would be really easy to even not notice I had surgery. It's like literally like 3 dots on around my knee. You can't even tell. And meanwhile, if you look at somebody who's had the surgery 30 years ago, a line that like reaches down 10 inches down their leg.
Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly. It's a huge difference. And yeah.
It's super invasive. Yeah, they really had to see what they were doing back then. They had to do it with their eyes only. They didn't have scopes and all these things that they have now. So yeah, it's a different ballgame when it comes to this kind of stuff. Again, totally against medicine, the practice of medicine, at least Western medicine. I think it's all, now I'm not a doctor, I don't play one here on YouTube, but it's all oil-based poison that they're going to poison you with for the rest of your life, and you're going to pay for it, and they're going to make lots and lots and lots of money off you. That's just my opinion on Western medicine. But yeah, as far as surgeries go, I don't know who's the best in the world. I don't really look into any of that kind of stuff, but I know there are quite a few good surgeons here in the United States. I wouldn't do it. When we were talking this morning about the jobs that are, should be paid a lot of money, I'm right up there for paying for surgeons to do what they do. I wouldn't do it. Just like the garbage man and the guy that works in the sewer systems and all that stuff. I don't want to do that job. So, yeah.
I would. I don't want to either, but I would. I would spend 2 or 3 days every week out of the month volunteering public service to the waterworks, to the trash companies, to other places as a way to provide it as a service. I think these are things that the government should be paying for. I don't think we should have to pay for water. If they're going to collect taxes, they should provide the bare necessities, the barest of necessities, those things that the human beings need in order to stay alive, but don't have easy access to, like, say, plumbing, drainage, sewers, all that good stuff. All those things you need to maintain that health. I mean, it's not free. You can't just expect people to donate labor and materials and everything else and just create this entire infrastructure from nothing. Or can you? would we need the government to collect the taxes if we were willing to volunteer to do the work ourselves? I don't know.
Good point.
What if it were a voluntary interaction? Just imagine. Imagine. Oh, the places we could go. Sorry to interrupt. Dixie was home. I had to go say hi to her. I had to smoke a couple drags off a cigarette and just get some more coffee and do a few things.
I think I just heard some insurance agents knocking at your door. Questions for you.
Probably so. I had mentioned before about tone and tenor. Because you said that was one of those things that just sort of drew you to our show, was our tone and tenor. And as soon as I heard your voice, it was sort of the same thing. Like, oh, it was that real vibing, familiar, just synchronization of those frequencies that just really seemed to mesh really well. And that was why I think, again, I think I'm a little bit empathic. I don't know. But when I listened to that Dave Weiss interview, there was just subconscious, subliminal. I don't know what it was, but it was maybe the way your wife and you interacted. Because I thought about this. Because it really was a question that I desperately wanted to be able to ask you, even though it was probably, I knew I'd feel a little awkward doing it. And I think it was just the complete different way that she saw the world. Listening to Dave, I totally get where she's coming from. And I could have jumped on that call and argued with Dave or argued with your wife. I could have really jumped on and gone either way, because I could really feel where she's coming from. But there was a glaring line in the sand that she just couldn't cross mentally. That there was that psychological barrier that she just couldn't push through. And that's what Dave saw. And when Dave says, okay, the earth is a ball because of fruit, he could see that barrier, and I could hear it. And in my experience, that's one of those barriers that isn't just flat earth related or even really truther related. It's just that propensity, I think, to have that barrier. I think, to me, shows there's probably that barrier in a lot of other places. And my guess is that was probably going to cause some issues. And at the very least, that show sort of highlighted it. And I was just real curious to see how things went post interview. It sucks you guys couldn't make it work, but it's awesome that you guys are both happier, because sometimes that's just the way it is, especially when two people change so much that if you could be happier, then damn it, I guess that's just the way it's got to be. So good luck to you both. That's it can be a hard deal no matter what. Even if it is amicable, there's still that mourning of the relationship lost.
There was definitely a that's a 20-year relationship, by the way. And so we knew each other in a lot of, we were so familiar with each other, but at a certain point, and that interview was done right at the beginning of 2020 in January. But there had already been a lot of lines drawn, and as maybe marriage does, I guess, I don't know, it did to me. And I was pretty firm on those. I just, my parents are still together. They're at 65 years, not doing so great, but they're, as far as, health and everything, but they're still together. And so, I kind of, I grew up with that sort of mentality to kind of, stick it out through the good and bad and all that. But there's a point, I'm just very different in that way. I have cousins who are musicians, and they've it's pretty astounding kind of story, because they're still going at it, and they've been making music for 50 years, and they've made 26 albums. And
I have not figured out who it was, but these are some relatively well-known cousins. Is that correct to assume? Is that the way I understand it?
Well, the band is Sparks. They've had a big year, so they may be in more kind of more familiar to some people than others. But prior to this year, it was there were a lot of people very involved in music who didn't know them or don't have no idea. But now they're a little bit. We've had some big things happen recently. So, but yeah, that's just from the standpoint from when I was a child. My sister is 12 years older than me, so she was closer to them, to Ron and Russell, and I grew up with their albums. Those were the first things I had in my house, and but it was more the mentality of just kind of doing what's right for you, creativity, and keeping but I think above all, like, you have to make the changes. You have to be willing to put yourself on the line, and that doesn't always figure in with your partner. And so and that's how I've always lived. And I think there's a point where that made her nervous, and that kind of damaged this, the relationship towards the end, that I was willing to give up certain things for my happiness. And sometimes those aren't very easy to negotiate around. And so, yeah, we started having some major issues with that. And then, yeah, the interview was like post-interview, like immediately, like that week, my first thought was, congratulations, you've done an interview with Dave Weiss that nobody on the internet will ever do. Nobody will do that, because I've heard 100 of his interviews. I've never heard anything close to that. I heard that it was very kind of striking in that weird kind of way.
It really was, to the point even Dave mentioned it too, that this was unlike any other interview he'd done up to that point. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm happy for that. I was happy for that, because that's, we don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. And I'm sure Dave, who goes around with this kind of scripted out thing, like I don't think he was comfortable getting pulled so far off script, and it showed. And I was, hey, that is awesome. So I don't think it created any problems for us. And I'm not like a big old flat earther. I think the best description kind of comes on a generic level or whatever. Crow's the world is misdescribed, or that kind of take, I think, is so effective, rather than going out and yelling, the earth's flat. Yep. There's so much to it. And so I was never really 100% bought in on whether or not I'm a flat earther, even though I just know that the world is misdescribed in a big way. And that's all I was willing to go with. So I still think she thought it was kind of a gotcha kind of thing, and it wasn't at all. It was.
Well, it was still enjoyable to listen to. Yeah. So, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living, JP? What keeps your days busy?
So, I've stepped away. I have kind of like my resume is split in half. I did like about 15 years, as you can imagine, kind of like my websites. 15 years as an accountant, where I did production accounting. I worked for a lot of film companies and was on a lot of sets and did all that. And then I left that to own my own business for a brief period. Then I moved to South Korea in 2002, right? Just kind of sick with the climate here. So I went to South Korea, taught English for a year, and I came back thinking, wow, I love teaching because it's amazing. And it was in Korea. where kids really, they have to learn, like they want to learn, they were into it. I was into it. It was a great mix. But when I came back here and I started teaching, I was a little less enthusiastic. So I got into therapy. I got my master's degree at that point, and I became a psychotherapist, and had been doing that up until very recently. And then kind of blew. I had, for a whole slew of reasons, I just walked from that field, and started beefing up my eBay business. So basically walked away from a couple professions, and yeah, that's where I'm at now.
That's awesome. I mean,
that takes some balls.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That takes balls to just up and say, you know what, here's what I've been doing for 15 years. Let's go to South Korea. I'm going to teach. Oh, that was fun. Let's go back to America, and I'm going to teach. Nope, I'm going to be a psychotherapist. And then that's what I'm going to do. You know what? I'm done being a psychotherapist. I'm not going to do that anymore. Let's just see what the world holds. Let's just see what's next.
Not only that, but I was writing letters to these former agencies and places where I'd worked, and kind of speaking my mind, which really isn't good. If I wasn't sure, I was sure at that point, because I think, as far as networking and stuff goes, I wasn't personally attacking people. I was just kind of giving them the what's up, like, this is why I'm done with this game. The modalities that I was held to using in order to get paid were so limiting, and put me in such a box. I was like, how does anybody do this? How does anybody do it? Of course, there's people that are absolutely friggin' amazing at psychotherapy and whatever, psychiatry, and the whole thing. There are great people in it, but the restrictions and the just for my personality, and I didn't really grow up in a family that was full of psychologists or psychotherapists, so I was kind of going in a little bit blind. Like a lot of friends of mine who became lawyers, for example, their family, like they had somebody close, the mom or dad were attorneys or lawyers, so they had a huge foundation of knowledge in their minds, or from whatever the profession is. It doesn't matter if it's blue or white collar. If it's something that in their family they had something to refer to, or whatever they could talk about with. I didn't really have that. I just knew people who were therapists, and I saw it in action when I was a teacher. I worked in programs where there were therapists. I learned, I just thought, wow, that's something I could do, and something I could probably do until I kick it, because all you do is talk, listen, and talk. So I was thinking long term, like, this is something I could do till the end. And the reality of it was way, way, way different. And the reality of it scared me, and it was so limiting that, I just took another walk. That was
so. Do I vaguely remember? This is going to be awkward as hell. Is it even more awkward than it already is? Didn't you spend some time in juvenile justice? Do I remember that correctly?
Well, I worked for the county. I was a teacher in LA County. Yeah,
gotcha. For some reason that was sticking in my mind. So I imagine. Do you play any instruments? What kind of art are you into? What kind of art are you into producing?
So right now, I wouldn't really call me a producer, even though that's kind of my, so JP is Jewish producer. It was a nickname a friend gave me when we first started podcasting, and now you're going to lose listeners.
Right, and we're off the air.
So yeah, no, I'm. If anything, I just enjoy like the writing process. I've been a writer, so that's probably my favorite area of art, and it's where I've kind of tried to apply what I've learned and what I continue to learn just about our whole world. I'm trying to write the most effective letters. I've gone from kind of like a narrative writing or journal entry writing and blogging. I started blogging in 2003 or 4. In fact, when I first started blogging, Property of Mars is my first blog name. That's why I picked that up now, because there's kind of a built-in kind of traffic thing built into it. So I'm not as much of a marketing nightmare as I make myself out to be, but that was the impetus for that. So yeah, I moved away from that, and now I'm writing letters, and I can't tell you how effective that is. It's like the most liberating thing. Is because certainly none of my script writing or any other kind of creative endeavors, like they usually are just for me or to share, and or they're not really for not really part of any kind of production or anything like that. They're just stuff I enjoy. But if I want to get something done, it's now all about letter writing. So that would be my art.
That's really interesting. I can kind of see how it's tying together in my brain. I was thinking, to be an accountant in the entertainment industry probably requires a little bit of finesse. There's got to be a little bit of artistic license to be exercised when trying to account for everything in the budget of, say, a movie. Because I'm sure that things just get really weird really fast, and that you're having to account for all of that. And then right back into working for LA County and having to navigate that situation probably required a bit of artistic finesse as well. So I can kind of see a tie-in into this letter writing, effective and efficient letter writing. I can see sort of marries the two together. That's really interesting. That's why I was just kind of curious. I just assumed that you probably did have some artistic outlet somewhere if you were not counting beans or shrinking heads.
It's a gentle way of saying how confusing. I like what you're saying, though. I mean, and it's true. I've never lost my ability for, I would say one of my gifts is estimation. I'm a very good estimator. And so that figures in pretty well, but not so much in psychotherapy. You can't really estimate where somebody will be based on something that I try to work on with. So I found that to be kind of a limitation. But overall, I would say, from that whole accounting experience, the one thing I pull away from it, even though I hated sitting at a desk those hours, was just the ability to kind of, quantify a situation fairly quickly, instantly almost. And so I found that's one of my kind of neat skills as far as that goes. I was going to say something else, but I'm forgetting. I'll get back to it.
Yeah, we had another guest on a while back, Jerry Merzinski. And he was a psychiatrist who worked with people who heard voices, the schizophrenics. And he was kind of saying the same thing. It's very, they want you to go about it a certain way.
I believe he was a psychologist.
Psychologist.
I do believe.
Yeah, and he said he got not in so much trouble, but he got, told a lot of times to only practice a certain type of way.
Yep.
And not until he kind of got into an institution where he was like the only person there was he allowed to practice the way he wanted to practice. And it wasn't inhumane. He wasn't like doing testing on these people.
Well, enabling paranoid schizophrenics might be considered slightly humane in some circles.
Yeah, but telling the person they're crazy, is that?
Well, and there's
an argument you could say for the exact same opposite.
And
it's not like electroshock therapy or anything like that.
And that's what makes Jerry's work so important, is because it's not that he's enabling this mental defect in someone, making their mental defect worse. What Jerry's realized is that's not a a mental problem. This isn't a brain problem per se, but they're sharing this commonality that would lead one to suspect that maybe they're just tuning into a frequency that we don't tune into. They're seeing things, they're hearing things, they're being influenced by something, and there seems to be a general theme as to what that influence is. So yeah, I don't think it's enabling them at all, but that was sort of the thought process between the psychiatrists and the doctors and the people that he worked with, and why he was sort of shunned, because in their minds, that's sort of what he was doing, was enabling their psychosis.
And I was getting in trouble for basically being unwilling to diagnose certain people. And then I kept butting heads with somebody above me, and but I couldn't. Once they were slapped with a label, I already, you could see a certain behavior manifest, and it happens time and time again. And so it was an absolute, last resort sort of situation where I would diagnose, and I would do my best to use, the books and just do everything by the book, but that's just not me. And when it comes to real-time helping, and I tried to stick with certain aspects of psychotherapy where the changes were almost, immediate. So I worked in grief counseling and anger management, even though I could be angry sometimes. It was my favorite areas. I still work with children, by the way. I've worked with children with autism and various levels of cognitive disorder. So I still do that to some extent, but I really walked. Last year was it. I was basically cut all ties with all the agencies and all the resources, and figured I'd just go out and let her write. But I've been doing some resume writing as well for people. But it's a totally different ballgame. I'm just trying now to kind of working on things like my diet, and just getting my whole life just re-engineered or engineered, and maybe for the first time, I'm not sure. And it's great. It's I've never felt better. I'm back to living a life where I'm not constantly looking at the clock and twiddling the thumbs. I've kind of returned back to a time where I was much happier.
Well, also, that is really cool. Did you have something?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something, and then right when I was going to ask you, you did.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think we all go through these. It's kind of like a growth spurt almost.
Changes.
You have these, but it's not so much a physical growth spurt, it's an emotional growth spurt. And then you level off a little bit, but I think these continue happening throughout your life. It's, you're not growing anymore, you're probably shrinking actually. But inside, your spirit is always growing. And I think, I can't wait for my next spurt. I'm ready.
Yeah, it does feel like one's coming. As sort of not idle, because my days stay pretty busy, but just sort of the words that come to mind don't accurately describe it, because they're not unfulfilled, they're not empty days, but it's just like there's an anticipation. Maybe it's like I can feel the vacuum in my brain needing to be filled. Like there's something coming headed that way.
Yeah. I have been searching for my next drive, that next growth spurt. That's my new analogy, my next growth spurt, spiritual growth spurt. I've been saying this for how long now, Josh? A while. That I'm looking for my next area to study or to focus on or to put my intent into. I have all this good intent and I want to, put it to something, and it's just been hard lately. So yeah, I'm just, enjoy these growth spurts while they happen, man, because they're, you know, sometimes when you want them, it's not something that you control.
And I was
So
just,
yeah, enjoy it.
I was thinking just yesterday or the day before, but the power of a good, well-written letter to the editor. Rag that circulates around here once a week. And I mean, as unpopular as newspapers are getting to be, this little no-name newspaper out in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, will still have 12 or 15 people writing letters, sitting down, writing, maybe emailing, maybe they're typing them out, but they're taking the time out to send it into the editor's office, right? They're dropping it off, they're emailing it in, they're doing whatever, but they're taking the time to so it would get printed in a newspaper. I don't think they have a big online presence. I think all they do is just your standard throw it in a mailbox once a week. But there's still plenty of people that seem to want to express their opinion on certain subjects to the point that they will still write in. It was just kind of amazing to me that there's still that power of a well-written letter to the editor.
No doubt. And one thing, I don't know if Zach is feeling this, but it's almost kind of hard to commit to something right now. And I think that's been my problem as far as when it comes to kind of, trying to make money and live in this so-called reality. It's been very difficult to commit when you follow things like the stock market. And I know you guys have mentioned, you were talking about, I think in your last show, and you guys are spot on. You're talking about how this stock market is completely artificially held up, not just to grow. I mean, we're talking about massive growth, unprecedented growth, unsustainable growth that's designed to basically kill the dollar. And so it's like, well, what are you saying? What are you doing here? It's so blatant and obvious. The Jay Powells of this world and these monsters, these things are just dictating how a investigation is going to go. They're going to investigate themselves, and there's not going to be a check by Congress. Then you're telling me that there's no leadership, or that they are in fact the leaders here. Wow. And in an unsustainable sort of model, what do? And a model that's designed to kill the middle class. I grew up very, lower to middle class. That's where this is all kind of pointing towards, right? This two-tier system. You either got some or you don't. And that's, to me, been very, very disheartening. It's not the same place where even my closest relatives all had so much opportunity. The world was their oyster, kind of type of a mentality. And now it's like, no, it's not. It's somebody else is shucking this oyster. I don't know what it is. I hope that wasn't too confusing, but I just was trying.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, they like to call it quantitative easing. It's been going on for 13 years now, and they're just pumping money into stock markets and treasury bonds and all this other nonsense to keep their machine afloat. And you're exactly right. What they're doing is purposefully crashing the dollar. They're not weakening it. It's already weak. They've already done the weakening. We're beyond weakening it anymore. We're talking billions of dollars every month just being made, just zeros added on. It's not even printed money. It's all digital currency. And every month they do this, the money that we have gets worth a little bit less and less and less. That's why everything's starting to cost so much more. They knew this was coming. It's not because there's scarcities. It's because they're printing money like there's no tomorrow. And who gives them the right to do this? They do. Well, we're within our rights to do this. It says so right here in our, in our papers.
Turns out,
yeah, there is no check by Congress.
We made it legal. Turns out we said it was okay for us to do this.
What, you want to audit us?
Okay.
Audit us?
No.
Get out of here.
We will go ahead and issue an independent team of auditors, and we'll tell you what the result is. And
turns out we were right. We didn't do anything wrong.
We went ahead and investigated ourselves, and as it turns out, we didn't do anything wrong. We did not break the law that we wrote, so it works out well.
We promise next time we won't do what we did.
Okay. And we promise
and
that
they're starting to have to say that now. Have you seen that? How there's so much insider trading going on with the people sitting at the top of the Fed.
I think the outcome of the investigation was that they can't do certain trades at certain times when there's certain activity going on, and they're buying the same bonds that the Federal Reserve was buying. So,
yeah, it's so crooked and right in our faces. And they don't even apologize for it. They're not like BP, who put out, we're sorry. They don't even have to. They know they don't have to.
We're sorry.
They're like, apologize. That means we'd have to admit we were wrong.
I said
apologize. We're not going to do that. Apologize. Yeah. I haven't watched South Park in so long.
No, the U.S. economy really is. It's the World Trade Center building number 7 of economies, It's mostly empty floors just waiting to get pulled. It's, bound, it's destined to happen. And we're just watching everybody take out their insurance policies for a terrorist attack. Oh, shit. Sorry. 2 planes, that's 2 attacks. Pay me double.
Pay me double.
Fuckers.
Well, just watch what happens if the price of oil starts dipping down into the 70s or $60 range. It has no business being there anyways, but say it slips from where it's at I think it's in the mid 80s or something. I'm sure there'll be some sort of attack or false flag event that will create some sort of fake, difficulty for getting the oil, right?
Oh yeah, we'll find some oil-rich country that just needs a good old-fashioned American freedom. Turns out my rights are going to end up in the desert again, and we're going to need some American soldiers to go all the way over there to protect my rights. Those pesky.
Well, see, that's the thing. We can't do it that way this time because Venezuela's trying to do that right now. They're trying to get their freedom and all this, and Venezuela actually is sitting on the biggest oil reserve that's known right now. But yet, all these big nations are, are embargoing them to where they're, no trades. There's all kinds of things to where we can't trade anything with Venezuela and blah, 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 blah. So this whole oil crisis is nonsense. They could be and the oil is like ready to go when it comes out of the ground. There's very little processing that needs to be done.
But you could still have a Venezuelan refinery. You could still be able to build your own refinery and become energy independent if you were allowed by the rest of the elites.
Well, yeah, that's what that president down there, I guess he's kind of like, what's his name over there in Libya?
Gaddafi.
Yeah, he's kind of doing the same thing. But he didn't find a giant, huge well of water underneath him that he wanted to share with everybody. He found all this oil and started just giving money out to his people.
Gold, yeah.
Because they had all this extra money laying around from all this oil they found. He's like, let's build up the country. And yeah, the powers that be are not liking it. So same thing. World leaders that either had a conscience or get a conscience, they don't get to last very long. If they do, they have to go through these, they like to call them civil wars, where a bunch of people are being paid to go attack this country but yet somehow it's a civil war when it's all mercenaries. It's crazy. It really is.
How's that for an oxymoron? As if any war could ever be civil. I mean, probably 3.6% versus are civil at best. What are the chances you're going to have an entire war be civil?
Do you think they really lined up
Can I shoot
in
at
a
you,
line?
please?
Yeah. Do you think they actually did that? I mean, I've seen
Yes.
a lot of drawings of people doing it.
I do.
I've never.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Really, Zach?
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
people
Just
did
as,
it, yeah.
let me paint you a picture. Men and women of all ages standing in line to get shot. You really cannot picture any way this could happen, even in today's society. Motherfuckers, dumb as shit, just standing up, waiting to get shot.
I know, but
Whether it's
I
a
just
lead
can't
ball or a
fathom it.
hypodermic needle, it's the same fucking thing. They're going to stand up and volunteer. We'll do it because we love our country. We love it.
see, I would have been the guy being like, hey, General, I'm telling you, man, if we just stand behind a tree and shoot and then get behind, because it takes us like 10 to 12 seconds to reload this damn gun, right? And we're just standing out in the open. Can I stand behind a tree? I mean, you guys can stand out there. I want to go stand over there.
This is the beauty of the Prussian education
saying.
system. That's the beauty. Specifically, Prussian education. I was explaining this to somebody at work today. Prussian education was designed specifically for this reason right there. So motherfuckers will stand up in large groups, 50 feet from each other, and take 3 minutes in between shots because they got to stop, put their gun down, put in a patch, put in a ball, put a little powder, put in your cap, put your primer, pull it up, take your shot, wait for some other dumb motherfucker on a horse to tell you to shoot while you got balls whizzing past your face. But yeah, they will stand up because that's the conditioning. For the same reason, no matter what you say or what you do or what you show them, people will have that mental barrier that they just will not be able to cross. Those barriers are put into place. Those aren't just natural occurring. You come by those honestly 9 times out of 10. A lot of those barriers were put there so that they will stand up and take a bullet by the thousands. Get them young enough, and you can instill in them that sense of citizenship, that sense of civility that says, well, it's for my country, and it's just my duty. It is my duty to sacrifice my body for my country, my life, to lay my life on the line for that dude on the horse. Way back there behind me, up on the hill, that dude. He gets to say, you go stand in there and get shot. And it is my duty to do it because that's how I feel about my country and my government and my king and my God, because those are the barriers that are put into place by design. When the Prussian soldiers took off running, the Prussians said, well, how did we go from like the best military to having chicken shits running across the field, cowards fleeing the fight? How do we fix that? We just get them younger. If we just start taking children from their parents at a young age and spend a few hours every day just instilling and repeating the same message over and over again and manipulating these young minds to mold into these barriers, and they fucking will go out and stand up and take a lead ball straight to the forehead for the same people that did it to them.
To the United States of America.
Right.
And to the republic for which. That's the thing that drives me insane too, is when people call this place a democracy. So didn't you say the Pledge of Allegiance as a child?
Well,
do they even do that anymore?
But the TV says. The TV said.
Yeah, I know.
Not just the TV. I saw it in the movie too. And on the way to the movie, I was checking my phone, and every headline I read on the news outlet that I look at every day was saying democracy. Democracy now. Democracy for Saudi Arabia. Show me your purple phone.
Danger to our democracy.
Right. Republic? What do you mean? Like, we have 50 fucking countries?
Yep.
That's right. That's what a state is. It's exactly motherfucking right.
Got a problem? You can leave.
Mm-hmm. Right. This ain't no democracy where we just do whatever the other fucking countries tell us to. Say to the EU, we have state sovereignty. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what the Civil War was fought over.
Exactly. I was just about to say, man, I'm proud to be in South Carolina, where they fought for this stuff so hard and all that kind of stuff. Even though I'm not from here, I mean, Indiana was neutral during that. You know, that's how the story goes. But yeah, I am with the people of the South. They were fighting for freedom. They really were. It wasn't for, so I can keep my slave. You know how many people that fought in the war probably had slaves? That was the guy on the horse sitting on the hill.
Yep.
He didn't have to fight.
Right. Now, there's some dumbass redneck down there have lead bullets flying by him, taking 4 minutes in between shots so that he can ramrod his shit home just to stand out in the middle of the field. Maybe his dumb redneck racist ass might have been out there fighting for his right to beat around on black people, but guys on the horse owned it all. They were part of the club. They're not the pawns. The pawns can... Whatever the pawns need to believe to get the pawns to do what the pawns need to do, let them believe it. Let them believe they're fighting for slavery. Fuck them. We're trying to instill a federal government here. And now all these damn Southern senators just took off at the end of the session. So now they crippled our federal government. They didn't want the federal government, so they left. And now we're kind of handcuffed by our own rules and we don't know what to do about it. I guess we'll just have to fucking invade. Because we have to figure out how to get our government to continue. And when the senators walked out and refused to continue, they couldn't end it. The sun could not set is the terminology that they use. They need the sun to set on the meeting. The sine die is what it's called. And when they took off, the sun had never set. It was left in this weird limbo position. And they needed those senators to come back to wrap shit up. That's why they went into the southern states, was to retrieve those senators to bring them back to Washington, D.C. That's how it kicked off. And the states were like, no, because that's not what we want. Why would we send them to do that when that's not what we want? We have the right to say no. And the North said, no,
you don't.
Maybe. Let's send some more soldiers and see. And
to the point where there were how many? I mean, you want to talk about mercenaries? You know how many of the people that fought in the Civil War were not from this country?
Yeah.
A lot.
It was just one gigantic French Foreign Legion around here.
French, Russian. I mean, the North bought soldiers from, that's why they had to fire up the printing press and start making fake money. Abraham Lincoln didn't free the slaves. He made everybody a slave by printing money, saying, hey, this piece of paper is now worth that much silver. This one's worth that piece of gold. Give me that. And you can have this piece of paper.
How do we get sidetracked? This is not what I wanted to do.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We're just rambling on here. I'm sorry, JP.
No, this is great.
Because, believe it or not, we do have a pretty interesting show title. So before we really jump into it, there are a lot of tie-ins, I think, between the show title and what the discussion we're having right now. But to help tie that in, let's talk a little bit about the land of Mars and Reperception and what you got going on Reperception's channel and land of Mars. What's going on?
So it's a property of Mars. Not to correct you, but you're close.
I even pictured the font, the big property of, like on the t-shirt, the property. That was what the font I was picturing in my brain. I knew property of Mars. Why I'm saying land of Mars, I don't know. My apologies.
Sounds great. But it's also that was my that was my original plan. I had bought this is like a long time ago, 10 years ago. I bought URLs. I bought property of, and I went through every planet. I had every planet except for friggin' Jupiter. It's like some car dealer or somebody owned property of Jupiter. So I couldn't get the whole solar system and I kind of gave up on it. But yeah, that's where it started from my blog. I did Reperception for a bit and just realized that I'm not too good solo. I thought I'd have all these. What I wanted to do is take a bunch of old articles and transcribe them and do just do that and do some interviews and stuff just to kind of practice and get better at it. And I think that's all it was. Thought I could do a little bit more, but my productivity fell off, and I just said, "Hey, I'll do a property of Mars and try to." It's not too different from like what Jason Lingram did with Secrets of Saturn. Just kind of this no real agenda to it. Just thought it'd be a nice house for interviews and stuff eventually. So that's that. I don't know if you were gonna where you were going with that, if that answered the question or not.
No, but that's excellent. Then I know that we have 3 dogs here at my house as well, and our big dog, our big derpy, vicious. If you can think of all the antisocial breeds that might be in a dog, Shibby's like the top 5, but he is such a big-hearted derp that you can't help but love him. But that was the name that he was given at the shelter who rescued him. And when Dixie got him, she just didn't change his name because she liked the name. And his name was Shibby, specifically from the movie Dude, Where's My Car? Because they just kind of made up that word. Everything was Shibby. And for whatever reason, that's what they chose to name this black dog that was almost dead from dehydration and exposure, tied up to a telephone pole in the hottest summer in St. Louis. He died pretty well, almost on the way back to the shelter, because he was just like literally that close to death, and still doesn't like the heat too much, as you might imagine. But yeah, it was quite the thing. So Shibby and Dude, Where's My Car? So we have Dude, Where's My Placenta?
Dude, where's my placenta? And I am. I don't know if this is a sign or not, but right when you started telling me the story, I got a black little dog last year. Just wandered right up to me. I hadn't seen him all day, pretty much. He just wandered right up to me as you told that story. It was nice, good story. All happened at once. So it comes down to kind of asking the right questions, and I think where we're at in this, I started tweeting, I don't know, year and a half ago. I don't know when it was. I started tweeting, we live in a post-truth world, and it's up to you to go and ask the questions and find those answers. And meanwhile, I'm doing the same thing in my life. I'm trying to ask. I've found that if you don't ask the right questions, and if you don't do it with a certain kind of ruthlessness, then you're just not going to get what you want. And I don't know how deep I'll get into this, but just for me, it started with trying to get my birth records at a local level, state and city level. And I did that. And as soon as I got my paperwork, what these kind of basic requests for paperwork got me was a bunch of, well, I got my paperwork, but it had a bunch of redactions in it. And I didn't know why. And I wanted to know why. And nobody can answer not only that question, but, and I'm talking about like the county registrar, the clerks and even the supervisors were very unhelpful. They couldn't answer why is this redacted on my certificate of live birth, and for that matter, what did these words mean? And I was just taking words straight from their template, and I was trying to get answers, and I couldn't get any answers. Nobody knew. The toughest question, of course, for them, well, who makes these templates? Where does this come from? And I couldn't get an answer. And I was like, that's odd. So, my driver's license is very dependent on the fact that I have one of these. I used it in order to get my a license. I used it to get a social security card. I used it for a whole number of things in my life. And so I would expect somebody somewhere to be able to answer, okay, well, where, answer these questions, damn it. And I wasn't able to get the answers I wanted. And so I started to research and look up. First, I had to go and start looking up all the words, every word, really. I use every word in its full capacity to understand what exactly is going on. And so that led me on the path to writing this. I did a little GoFundMe here, and because ultimately it led me to a question: where is my placenta? What happened to it? And it's like it's a question that turned a lot of people just turn their head like, what are you talking about? So that was the kind of the beginning here of why I decided to do the GoFundMe. And it gets into some interesting areas. I don't know if you've looked into this, or if that you did you go like, what?
Are we going to get into a little bit of admiralty law? Is that where this is sort of headed with the placenta and the laws of the sea?
I mean, it could go there. I don't really, I'll be honest, I'm no expert, no more than the next guy is or gal is, but I've studied, these sort of things, and I'm really more curious and it's just the simple question, can the placenta, can it be registered? Can somebody put a claim on it? Not to own it. Nobody can ever own it because that is my property. But my question is pretty fair and simple, and that is, and so that's really what I'm asking is can somebody step up and tell me where did it go? I mean, and I don't mean in like the physical sense, like is my placenta up in a shelf somewhere? And I think I'm like, this is more something happened, and I'm trying to draw another line in the sand. I'm drawing the line between, of course, you get a flyby right when I get into this. So yeah, what happened at the time of my birth, and is this paperwork here? Is that paperwork? Does that apply to me, or does that apply to something else? And that's where it starts.
So once you started looking into it, what was where did you start looking?
My first,
once you asked yourself this question.
my first thing was the form itself, and writing down and defining every word that's used on there. And that's where I came to learn about, because there's one area where it says something about live birth. What's live birth? What's considered live birth? And that's, that's everything that comes out as a single, for a single delivery, a complete delivery, everything must be included. So everything can be considered live birth. So that got me to thinking, and from there I started pulling it apart even more. What exactly does that entail? If I come out, okay, I'm obviously alive and breathing, and then but there's more, right? There's parts that come out and all that. So that's separate from me after it's cut and there's a separation created. So what are you saying? So then I came to learn that, yeah, even all the components within the birth are considered live birth, and they are subject, and that gave rise to even deeper thinking. So what happens then? So then I started looking at the birth date itself, and so obviously the birth date, the time and the date, that's how could that be me? How could you say that my birthday is that? It seems very arbitrary when I have a different sort of belief, and what happened to that other time or time immemorial, which this 266 days or something. There's a whole span of time between when the zygote is formed, and so from zygote to all the way through. You're telling me that that's not included in my birthday, so then there's a separation there. So again, is that paperwork for me, or is it for something else? And since everything we do that's official, from the house that I own, that I had to put my signature on 15, 30 times, I don't even know how many times I had to put signatures on that thing. But that, these are all connected, and they all relate to that birth date that I don't even accept as being me. So if I don't accept that as being me, what are all these other things that I've signed into, and why? And yeah, why am I doing all of that? And so he just set me off on this quest for understanding it a little better. And that's really where it is here. It's not so much, I mean, I have a goal here on the GoFundMe, but that's really secondary to the question itself. And will somebody send me some information like, oh, I get what you're asking here. This is what happened. So, I think I wrote here, let me see here. I like to think of the organ as my vessel that carried me through the waters to this world during times immemorial. It means a lot to me, and it would not feel right if someone else took my vessel and my organ without my consent, claimed it's theirs, and tried to profit or benefit from it somehow. Has somebody benefited or profited from my afterbirth? From the placenta that came out after me? I mean, I'm just asking the question, could it be possible? And the more I look into it, the more I started to realize, like, okay. And then I looked on GoFundMe and other places. Like, there must be some and I'm not finding really anything like this on anywhere, and I couldn't believe it, really. I mean, I was just joking around with somebody. He sent me because I always hashtag words. I think it's fun, and the whole meme process, even though it's probably destroying the universe as we speak. But I love a good meme, and so he memed. He just sent me hashtag where's my placenta, and so I hashtagged him back, dude, where's my placenta? And he's like, that's funny. And so that really, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do with this. Got me started, got my brain working.
And this is why I said that they were doing so good at just keeping me busy, right? I had all the busy work I could handle. I had the 9-to-5 job, 7 to 3, whatever. But I was, out there earning my Federal Reserve notes, paying my taxes. I was being a good citizen, a really good, American. And that was a conscious decision, right? Because before I decided to do that, it was kind of at a crossroads. Like either not renew my driver's license, we'll just jump in and see what happens, because I don't do a lot of driving, just traveling in a private conveyance.
Right.
Or I could go ahead and renew my license and sort of, walk the line, as Johnny Cash might say. And the new wife, and, it just seemed like the responsible thing to do, even if only as a temporary solution, right? Let's get a little stability underneath me before I just jump off the deep end completely. I'd rather jump off the deep end rather than have the bottom fall out from beneath my feet. And that's what I've been doing. I've just been plugging along. We're like 4 years into it now. Shit, it's got to be longer than that. Oh, because I've only been married that long. So that's why when I say I feel like there's that vacuum created with my brain where it's just waiting to get filled, there's that energy that Jonathan might talk about, sort of the pullback on the bow, getting ready to release whatever it is, now shooting forward at a much higher momentum than it's going recently or has been recently. And it's that drawing back motion that feels a little awkward at first, but then you start to realize exactly what it is. And all you know is, all right, well, something's going to happen. And once I start to go forward, all I can do is hold on and go. And these conversations of law and legalities and things like that, they've been really at the forefront, it seems. So it was really interesting. We had this whole dude, where's my placenta? We were talking about revolutionary war times this morning, and the idea that Ben Franklin was, the undercover lawyer for the king at the time, working all the deals so that when we finally lost, they could keep it on the down low. And as long as they, do that nice satanic inversion, we'll let the dumb bastards think they won. Let them think they won. As long as we know who's really retained the power, let the dumb bastards believe whatever they want. And we paid back our loans to the king for our revolution. And like good little civilians that we had now become. And there was this idea of corporate personhood, I thought, was really interesting, because when I was looking into the law, when I was like really deep into the law, that was one of those things that really took the wind out of my sails when I realized just how deeply ingrained the idea of corporate personhood is, because that's one of those things that was brought over on the Mayflower or even earlier, right? Corporate personhood predates America. That's an idea law that came from England. And it's,
wasn't East India Trading Company the first corporation? Or
Sort
was
of
that the first stock certificate?
Well, that's the interesting thing.
Press on. And you're like, yeah.
Press on. Assemble forth. Legion about. Sound off. Amble. Pursue happiness with your life and your liberty on your property. And for God's sakes, exercise your Fourth Amendment right as one of the people not to be in your person.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. And I love press on. I love the people's phraseology of that. The right of one of the people. Fourth Amendment right. Well, it's, you know, I'm sorry, sir. Am I being detained? No, you're free to go. Excellent. Because the assumed freedom of being free to go means I'm also free to stay. Being free to go does not mean I have to go. So our Fourth Amendment right as one of the people to be free in our person's effects and papers. You notice there's a big distinction between people and persons. So we have artificial persons and we have natural persons. We have hats, different ways we can wear those personas. That's exactly what the people want to be doing. Just like whether you want to be traveling or you want to be a driver. You can change personas. You can wear different hats. You can operate in different capacities at your will. You get to choose. Well, I mean, if you're operating commercially, you're operating commercially. You can kick the bastard out and travel on forth. If it's fair, you're driven. But once I realized just how deep the abyss was that I would have to cross to get to this other side, it really did take a lot of wind out of my sails. It was probably a signaling moment of that slow ease into flat earth as I started to slack off on the study at law, because it was it's going to be, especially with the language, as Cammie can attest to, as Corey Kell can attest to, the way that language is manipulated, especially when you're up against an entire society of people. And that entirety society of people are the same people that are going to investigate themselves if there's any wrongdoing. And they're the ones that have the monopoly on the information and a monopoly on violence and basically a monopoly on whether or not your physical freedom exists or not. Because if you don't like what they do, they throw you in a box. And if you don't want to get thrown in a box, they'll just shoot you dead on the street. That's just the way it is, because it's not a voluntary interaction. They hold the monopoly. So I studied for probably 2 or 3 years, pretty in depth, looking at a lot of this law stuff, you know, just perusing so many Black's Law dictionaries, because there's so many editions. And ladies and gentlemen, the 5th edition, whatever the latest one is, 9, maybe up to 10 by now. But as long as you got the 5th was the edition where they stopped and was the last one where they included case law with the definitions.
Yeah, that's the one you want to go with.
Mm-hmm. And it's always nice to have the current ones in case definitions change. But also remember, Black's Law does not necessarily define the words that they're going to use in court. A lot of fictions define their own words their own way.
Well, when it comes down to the living man or woman, you won't find anything in the book that deals with that.
Did you know that on the back of lottery tickets, it'll tell you that only natural persons can win the lottery? Artificial persons are disallowed from any lottery winnings. I thought that was funny.
No corporate takeovers of this.
Well, again, it's
rigged anyways.
Well, it's like you said, it's one of those things I just happened to notice. It was like I was glancing and a lotto ticket happened to be flipped over face down. And my eyes just happened to pass over those two words right next to each other. I go, what? Because you don't ever really hear that subject addressed. How often are rights or things pointed out specifically for your natural person? as opposed to your artificial person. Usually it's either or. They never specify because they don't want to.
Yeah. And I thought just on one level, I think it's a daunting experience for a lot of people who they look at that. Anything legal, first of all, anything legal related, most people scoff at as, oh, my brains are going to explode. I was met with, these sort of reactions when I dug any deeper into, these sort of ideas. Like you brought up civil. I mean, just like ask people to define civil.
Right.
I mean, do they know that it's based on a theoretical mean sun? It's based on a fake sun, and I could run into 1,000 people tomorrow, and maybe none of them will be able to, help me out in understanding why nobody asks that. But it's just a strange thing. People start to realize that we live under a civil calendar, and all these things, these ideas, just you can look at almost anything, and it just makes your mind want to pop. And I get it. So I thought with this, it was a little bit more of kind of a reference that might be kind of, familiar, but so basic. And there's and here's another thing I often wake up to, that the moment women, you just think about when women wake up to the notion of what they've given up, it's just staggering on just that level alone. Forget about what the placenta, forget about my work or my efforts in making that thing. What have women given up? And so, if that were to happen tomorrow, this would just be a totally different landscape. And I know that, and I truly, want to express that, when I get into like this sort of idea, it's not really to make people get all, flustered with the ideas of law and how screwed up things are, or how even, well, I do want them to know like how badly, maybe it wasn't a direct lie, but it was and it was a lie. What do they say that if you don't say anything, it's a lie by
omission.
Lie by omission. That's exactly what this all is. So it's not the same as if I just went up and told you something about me that wasn't true. It's just a lie by omission, and so nobody,
kind of like the tax system.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah,
you could not pay for all this and get all this money back.
Exactly.
But we're not going to tell you how.
No. Why would they? We're all too eager to pay it.
And it's amazing because they've done this in every aspect of every corner, every nook and cranny, and it's taken time to do this, but they've got everyone so compartmentalized that only the people in the know that speak to each other really know all this stuff anymore. I mean, it's not easy to find the information like in the early heydays of the internet, where you could type stuff up and find case laws and this and that and Harvard documents of, business. Just everything is being swept away now.
Yeah, everything's been scrubbed, it seems. It just takes maybe, if we narrow it down to a few real simple questions. And I thought maybe that's what this could be, is a simple question to add it to the mix, not something you need to. There's people out there I know that have done so much tremendous work. They've basically cracked the code, But has it been accepted on any? People are having babies every day, right? So shouldn't they ask the question, what happens next? Where does that go? Why is it put into a biohazard bag? Why is a placenta put in these sort of things just eat away at me, what? And like when I was asking for information, I was getting information, and I would ask these simple questions. What is your use of earth? What is your use of so and so mean? And when I wasn't able to get answers, I was like, okay, well, these people are clearly trained at the clerk level, especially. They're trained to answer things a certain way, and they want to get it done. They want to get it done on the phone. And I try to get I live in California, and I tried to get an email address for the Department of Health, and you can't get it. It's not easy to do. It took me a few efforts to get through to a supervisor who finally was like okay with giving me his department's email address. And so that's when I learned quickly, like, if I don't ask the right question and stay diligent in what I want to get done, then they're more than happy to solve the question in a way that won't really solve anything right there on the phone and get me out of their way. So and I've never wanted to be a pest or anything like that. I've always kind of come with this idea of neutrality and I'm trying to be as peaceable as I can, and try to get things done in a diplomatic fashion. And it's not always easy because I do have a little bit of a trigger. I get mad.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, was who'd you even take these questions to? Your county recorder? I mean,
I started there, yeah.
And of course they didn't know anything because they're not going to know.
They referred me to the Department of Health. So I went to the Department of Health. That's where I'm at now, just dealing with them. And I did get answers to what I was looking for, but you have to continue asking, because they will tell you what's on their website. They'll restate that quickly. But just like if you go to In-N-Out, you're not going to get animal fries by just looking at the menu. You gotta know to ask for them animal style. If you've ever had them.
In-N-Out burger. I think I've been to one of those. They're out west, right?
They're mostly, yeah, here in California. I think they've branched out maybe into Nevada. But,
yeah, I think we were in California when we did it. My buddy told me I had to try one, so we stopped. It was on the east coast of California, though.
If you've ever had a great hamburger, you might not rank it up there, but it's great. It's great for what it is.
For what it is, it's a good burger. That's exactly the way I describe it. For what it is, it's a really good burger. It's been a hot minute since I've had an In-N-Out burger. But
under $5? Are you kidding me? Now, like, it's like commonplace to pay $15 for a stupid hamburger. Are you kidding me? Get out of here.
I know you can go have a sit-down meal at a restaurant for less than fast food anymore.
Pretty much.
It's crazy.
Or at least the same price.
Yeah.
And it's gross. Because I don't go out a whole lot, I don't really notice it that often. But like when you go grocery shopping or buy anything more than a handful of items, and you're like, holy fuck, how is it that much? Like, man, that was a weird purchase. A couple weeks later, like, man, that was a weird purchase. I'm like 3 months into fucking weird purchases, and I realized, shit, everything costs more. Like a lot more. Noticeably more. It sucks.
But it's quantitative easing, Josh. They used a nice word like easing.
Well, sure. Well,
they didn't want to call it, we're ramming you in your ass.
Well, it's because they called it quantitative easing 1. They said we might need to do this 1 or 2 times, so we're just gonna have to do this. Here is QE1.
And it was only supposed to be for 4 months. Yeah. 1 quarter. It'd only be for 1 quarter. That's what they said. And this was after that huge bailout that they just bailed out the too big to fail banks. They had enough money that they gave those banks, which foreclosed on all those people's houses. They could have given every citizen in the United States $45,000. You know how many loans could have been paid off with each household, every member, child included, getting an equivalency of $45,000? But no, we'll give it to the banks and they'll foreclose on all your houses and we'll sell all that stuff to China.
And then we'll block off the national parks. And you're not going to know why, but it's not going to be because we sold it all to China either. But these are your national parks. You just can't go in. You just can't travel through, step foot into, hunt, fish, sightsee, any of that in your national parks. Because democracy.
Because democracy. Yeah, it's a shame what has happened. And yeah, I just blame it on the baby boomers. No, I'm joking.
You know what? Yeah, fingers are going to point, but I think the finger should always kind of boomerang back to the person questioning. I know for me, I really had a lot to learn when I started to, understand, is my thinking in reality, or am I accepting this sort of, I don't know what you call it, fantasy world, fantasy land sort of mentality. And most people are okay with fantasy land, it seems like. And the ideas from the maybe like the middle 70s, like convenience and pleasure all blended together has arrived, and they just want to press a button and get that shot of endorphins or whatever it is right into their butt. And I'm still, maybe I'm old school a bit. I'm kind of, I kind of want to live in reality. And so I try to ask the questions that are based right there in reality. It makes no sense to me that now that in order for the market to go up, we have to have a dollar that's going down, oil prices going up, and this 10-year bond staying stable. When you have those three factors in place, almost every day you're going to have an up day in the market. It's been like over 90% for like months and months. And the more bad economic news we get, the higher the market goes. In what world does that even friggin' make sense? So where are all of our heads? Why don't people care? Why don't we have real pullbacks in the market anymore? It might go down 200-300 points in a day. That's not a pullback. I have bad news. Not anymore. Not when you're looking at percentages. A real pullback, most people probably think, oh, that's devastating, but that's what it needs. It doesn't. Instead, we're getting these little pullbacks, bought back the next day. The market shoots up because they just announced there's another 300,000 people on first-time unemployment. Hooray! This economy is great. We only had 270,000 this week. Whatever. Just these talking heads from the Federal Reserve are just disgusting.
They march Janet Yellen, who looks like a sweet little grandma with her sweet little voice, and she can say anything because she's just so cute and old and humble, and it doesn't matter if I tell you that I killed a little baby just before I got here and it tasted so good. I hope you're having a nice day. And she can get away with it because people see the little old lady and not the demon that's sitting in front of them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's disturbing. There's too many conversations where I felt like I had to censor myself, and I'm not doing it anymore. So I have less friends, but my friends are already kind of on edge with me now. Now I'm just kind of speaking my mind, and they're far more interested in keeping things as they are without major shifts. But too many people are kind of, I don't want to say I think differently anymore. There's too many people that I'm running into them more often.
Yeah, there is no, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm sorry, folks, the boat's rocking. You can deny that it's rocking, right? Deny reality, but things are not, the water's not calm right now around us. Definitely not. There are so many different divisions that are now butting heads and saying no, that, yeah, if you don't see it, then you're willfully blind. It's not that you can't perceive it, it's that you can't accept it. So yeah, those are the people, and I have plenty of them in my life, most of them family members, that, I love them. We have chats, but I don't discuss anything real with them anymore. Because they're just it's mainstream media. I can go listen to their answers on mainstream media if I wanted to. No thought of your own. And yeah, it's because they're scared. I know it is. But that's no way to go about it.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes, but I think you're right. It boils down to fear. It worked. It worked.
Yeah, it's a great tool that they have and they use all the time. I mean, when are they not peddling fear? Can you think of a time over this? I mean, I can't think of a time that they haven't been peddling fear. It was right after World War II. What was it? The Cold War started. And then we had to worry about Korea. And then we had to worry about all these, there's always a boogeyman, the bad guy that none of us see over here, but we see it on the TV. And yeah, it's okay that we send our young men and women to go and die fighting this boogeyman. When you come to find out, we really started half the shit 30 years later. Vietnam War, Gulf of Tonkin. Was it Admiral Morrison?
Right. They were playing both sides of that game, right?
Mm-hmm. This is admitted, declassified now. It's not like this is a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy fact. They admitted to conspiring to starting the Vietnam conflict. They like to use that word too. Well, it was never really a war. Yeah, there's always going to be a boogeyman. Always. And the real reason we're there, they don't ever say to us, because we wouldn't allow it. We wouldn't, cheer for it. So why did 2 buildings have to fall in New York? Because we had to go over there and stop Saddam Hussein from making a money backed on gold. Can't allow that. That's a line in the sand that they will not allow to be crossed. Yeah, and I look at everybody who's tried. Gaddafi was going to do it. I think they would have let him bring that water up and build up Africa a little bit more. I mean, they were definitely scared of that. And that was the first thing they destroyed once Gaddafi fell. It took them 40 years to build those aqueducts and the aquifer system and all this beautiful infrastructure. And it was destroyed in like 4 minutes. But yeah, as soon as he said he was going to start his own currency backed by a gold standard again, that's when it was time to cut it. Saddam Hussein mentions it. You saw what we did down there. And didn't the guy in Syria said he was going to do that, didn't he? Yeah, it's so obvious. And you can even point it out to some of these people, and it's that willful blindness, willful ignorance. And that's that bliss. I didn't know you could get bliss from willful ignorance. I thought it was just plain old, good old ignorance. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm still not going to try it. But yeah, maybe if you just say it's not real, I'm not going to, yeah, I don't know. My brain doesn't work that way. It never has.
Well, your brain's not screwed on backwards like they made me feel. I think your head straight on. That is amazing. Hey, yeah, I'm just curious, because I gotta eat at some point. How late are we heading through here? What do you usually do?
Oh man, you're welcome if you're hungry, you want to get going. Yeah, it's, you know, we usually try to run a show for about 3 hours, but we're never, expecting or holding the guests' feet to the fire saying, we take what we can get.
I love it. It's incredible. And I usually just jump in and listen and never really pay attention to time. So this is a first. I as always, the crowd that you have, the people who are hanging out here are like always amazing. Whenever I ask questions in the chat room and make comments, I always have really amazing response. And so
yeah, we're blessed for sure.
And it really is a great thing. I hate to use the word family, but it really does give that feeling. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, we call it the family. F-E.
Love it.
Emily. Yeah. And of course, we have our Iron Scouts there that are always there, even when we're not here. They're like, hey, where are you guys at? Waiting. So, yeah, we love them. It makes it a lot easier to get up and do the shows at 5 a.m., Those shows are a lot easier to do when you get up to all these wonderful people.
Yeah. How are the 5 a.m. shows different? Are those mostly, those aren't flat earth, those are just everything also?
Yeah, we really, we always talk, we'll rip NASA usually every show, unless we're just having good conversations, but we really don't focus on it so much anymore. I mean, what else is there to say? There's still people out there doing a lot of great work, putting out videos on how we see too far and this and that. But yeah, there's so much to talk about and so much going on. And this is more really, the way I see it, and I've heard Walt say it and Josh say it, it's kind of like our group therapy here that, everybody's allowed to join. As long as you're cool in chat, you're allowed to join in. And we rant on whatever's in our mind. Yeah, we never really have a set. We have guests on and we like to speak about what, they're doing and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, it's just us. It's just, yeah, I love it. It's
amazing.
Yeah, it helps.
Now, were you on the show where they talked about cameras and the sun and Crow was here and that epic show? It was now probably 3 years ago. I want to.
Yeah, it was like 4.5 hours long or something like that. It was a really, really long show.
I was here till the bitter end. How late that one went. It was so fun. I'll never forget that show. Easily one of my favorite shows of all time, right there.
Yeah, that was awesome. Crow, he wasn't used to that. He was used to giving a presentation. When he came on, I was like, yeah, I can give you guys an hour, this and that, yada, yada. And then we got on and we just started shooting the shit. And he went and made a drink. And yeah, it went on forever. It was fun. It really, yeah, that's how we like to do it around here. A lot of the bigger people like Crow, our audience knows what they're doing and what they're all about. So when we get them on, it's more about meeting the person, and yeah, they become part of the therapy session and they get to vent what they're thinking about. And yeah, I love it here. I really do. I'm so blessed.
Well, thank you for having me on. And I hate to bail out, but my dogs are freaking out. I got to feed them. And
Yeah, man, go take care of business.
I'm sure by
We
the time
know.
I'm back, you'd be pretty much done. But I'm gonna stand down here, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I'll be in the room chatting away for future shows, and hopefully come on again and all that.
Yeah, door is always open, man. If you have something you want to get out there and say to, a relatively small group of people, you're always welcome.
I appreciate that. I definitely want to pick your brain about your setup over there, because I want to make some more involved, get into the specifics a little more.
Yeah, it's not as hard and it's not as expensive as, make it out to be. It's really just plants and maybe some grain alcohol, really strong grain alcohol if you want to go by that way, or some little glassware setup that's under $50. And you can, it's a start. It's getting me back to reality. I don't want to keep you too long, but you were saying, it's easy to push a button and expect it now. And I get like that sometimes. And this whole distillation, just sitting here watching that little flame distill the water, it takes time. There is no button I can push to make it go faster. So it's really, I'm getting there. I think I'm getting to that point where I'm going to find my next thing.
Well, I'll definitely share my experiences next time we talk. Gardening and spagyrics and all that. Didn't even get to that stuff. So
Heck yeah,
to get into, man.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, man. We're always here.
I don't know if Josh is still here, but thank you, Josh. I know some of those questions were tough, and I appreciated them, all of them. So thank you again. I'm gonna hit it here. Thanks, Zach.
Well, yeah, JP, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you again.
Likewise. Take care, man.
All right. So where is Josh? I see him in the actual Zoom chat, but yeah, we are not hearing him. I wonder if he may be having technical difficulties again. I have been rambling a lot tonight, so I don't know if you guys want to sit around and listen to me ramble a little bit more, but I'm gonna try to at least keep it going until Josh gets back. I don't know what he's doing. So here, I don't know if that'll even work. Let's see. I'll see if I can turn this on and show you just exactly what JP was talking about. My setup I got going on. There's my ugly mug. We'll turn this around. Will you let me know if that's coming up on the show, Cammers? Yeah, and Cammy's feeling better every day. So I actually have an acetylene torch with just propane. You can hook oxygen up to it, and it, burns it a lot hotter. But I realized that it can do it, just like this, and burn the flame for very long periods of time. And I save energy. I was doing it with a hot plate, and it was really hard to get it just at the right temperature. And once I started doing this, it became a lot easier to control it, so you're not bubbling up over the top. And we got some essential oils down here. But yeah, it's really an interesting process, folks, trying to get the right amount of, plant matter in there, the right amount of water so it doesn't boil over all the time, but it can boil enough, and then stopping it at the right time. I've got a bunch of the leftover oil. These aren't the essential oils. This is just, and what I'll do, you can see this one's a little bit darker. I boiled this down by itself even a little bit more to pull some more water out. And yeah, I'm looking into more glassware and stuff like that, bigger glass. Well, maybe even getting a still. But yeah, isn't really a way to speed this up too much. And then over here, you have a cold water condenser, which you're just taking your hot gases that come up through the tube here, and then they'll start condensing and forming into water droplets, and then they just drip out nice and slow down here. Ba-doop. Every once in a while, you pull the top in case there's a vacuum. All the water will run down there real quick if there is. Yeah, fun stuff, folks. So I don't know what Josh is doing or if he's coming back.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Oh, there he is. Yeah, JP had to run.
oh hell, and I missed it. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's my fault. That's me just being a poor host.
Nah, life happens, right?
It do. Yeah, it do.
But I think I'm getting this down. The whole plant matter to water ratio, and I'm still getting nice condensation all up in here. Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuffs.
But yeah, it's making me realize, or not realize, but come to realize that, there is no push button in real life. The internet all day long with computers and phones and smartphones, you get everything at the push of a button right now. It's getting faster and faster every day. This stuff, this is real. This is the physical world. There is no, I want to make that distill faster and faster and faster. Water distills when it distills. You're not going to tell it to do it any faster than nature allows it. We live within these boundaries, these laws. And some things just take time. And you're going to have to wait. So start making a hat or something, because this ain't going to happen real quick.
And you might be able to synthesize parts, but it's never going to be what it would be otherwise.
Yeah, some of the best things out there just take time. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
You can go to the store, push a couple buttons, have a cake, walk out with a cake. You don't go and put your ingredients on the counter, though, and push a button and have a cake. It doesn't work that way.
Like
There's
the
mixing
Jetsons.
involved. There's the Jetsons. Yeah, we still ain't got there yet. I saw a thing for a flying vehicle the other day. Someone invented like it wasn't like the Jetsons. It was more like a drone that you could sit in and drive around. And I was like, all these are great ideas, but people can't even stay on the road. Do you imagine all the horrible things that would happen if you allowed people to fly around over our heads? Drunk. They're already saying they're putting anti-drinking things in all vehicles that are being made now from, what is it, February of 2022. All manufactured vehicles in the United States will have some kind of sobriety check before you can drive. They're not exactly, it's not going to be a breathalyzer, which they already do for people who have, multiple DUIs and things like that. But they said they're going to have a way to check to see if you're inebriated or not. I'm going to have my 97 Ford, hopefully I'll be passing it on to somebody. That's what I'm hoping. I'm going to keep that thing going forever. None of that electronic booker. They can't just turn my truck off yet. I think that started in 2001. All GMs, or maybe 2002. All GM, Ford, Chevy, they have that OnStar, whether they know it or not, it's on there, and they can shut your car off. Just because you ain't paying for it doesn't mean the capabilities aren't there. Or even if it's not an option for your model, it's still in there. They can shut your vehicle off if they want to.
Yep.
Or
or drive it headlong into a tree. Shout out Paul Walker.
Yep, wasn't he the Rolling Stones?
No, he was the guy from Fast and the Furious.
Oh.
He was the guy looking into the connection between the Clinton Foundation and missing Haitian children.
Yeah. You don't do that. Just saying.
That's not something you
Clintons. Do. That's a long list.
Oh.
Just saying.
Yeah.
The number of people that have gone missing while looking into the Clintons is scary. I don't recommend looking into the Clintons at all. It's not something I ever type into a search engine. I'll just say that much. Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So do we got anything planned for next week? Any guests lined up?
Well, for those that are fans of
JP was awesome.
Do what?
JP was awesome.
JP was awesome. I'm so glad we got to talk to him. I'm still kicking myself for smoking and getting dinner ready while I should have been in here. I wasn't even getting dinner ready. I was just helping Dixie get dinner ready by way of giving her my debit card. So let's see. I was just playing random music coming in. The song "Together Again." I thought, well, that's a ideal song. So I just thought I'd play it and see what came out, because this was from the vocal list. So these are songs that actually have words to them and stuff. So I thought, well, that could be pretty good. I'll be curious to see what that is. And yeah, it was a really appropriate song. So I was happy that played. So I guess we can get the hell out of here. Otherwise, we're just sort of sitting here rambling, treading water. Actually, I do think if you're fans of the Melodome on Tuesday morning, Austin will be rejoining us over here on Ironworks on Truth Frequency Radio, TFRlive.com, kicking off at about 4 a.m. Central Time. 5 if you're over there on the East Coast, so that's at least a little better. So yeah, be hanging out with us a little bit on Tuesday morning. You know, I don't really have a whole lot scheduled. Miss Mays is one of those I'd like to reach out to. I'd like to have her on. She had a really good appearance over there in the Melodome, and I'd like to talk to her. So that's somebody I'm thinking about reaching out to. And there's a few others, definitely several others I would like to reach out to and get on here. But nothing planned, nothing set in stone as of yet.
Yeah, and Daz shouting out Jonathan from Jersey in chat. Absolutely. Love it when Jonathan drops in. Even if it's just for 10 minutes and then I'm going back to bed. Yeah, he's always got, he always makes me think. When he says stuff, it's always spot on, but it's like from a different angle. Yeah,
it usually is from a very different angle. Though we love Jonathan.
And love y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
We don't really have a whole lot going on next week. Nothing planned, nothing scheduled. But you know what did pop off tonight? Now you guys can take a little time and go back, head on over to Benjamin Balderson's channel. he had a pretty badass guest on tonight. So
Mr. L.C. King.
it certainly was Mr. L.C. King.
Nice. So they had chat. Was it last night or the night before? They had part 1. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go and check out.
Freaking YouTube algorithms suck. Didn't know this was part 2 or part 1. I just figured this was it. Because
I think they're gonna have a
good
quick to try to cram all in one show.
or even 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like learning a whole other language. You need to watch one show multiple times and then watch the next show. It's, it's, again, they've got us all speaking these different languages, but using the same language. So every time you go into a new field, you have to get the lingo down and these words that you've never used. And then the words that you have used, you have to start using them in the right context, because most likely they mean something totally different than what we were normally using these words for. What is it in gemology? The really crazy one, Cam? Oh, yeah, synthetic. Synthetic. What would you think? Synthetic is what? Man-made? No, not in gemology. That means it's natural. Grown above ground naturally. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, that's how they do it. They keep us in these little boxes. All right, enough of me ranting.
Yeah, I just can't get my mind off 2 male plants down in my basement.
Yeah.
It's all right. We'll be heading to the hydroponic store this weekend.
There you go.
I'm going to drag Dixie along with me and grab a little extra dirt. I'll be popping seeds by next week. And I'm real curious to see what my root system looks like inside these cloth pots. See how that air pruning went. See just how root bound these old men are going to be. Jesus Christ, I just can't let it go.
Yeah, this is the real world, Josh. You're going to have to start calling them what they are. No.
It'd be all right. It's a learning experience. My next ones are going to come and go real fast, and I'll just have colas the size of my forearm.
There you go. Know it.
All right, let's get the hell out of here. I don't see any reason to drag this out much longer.
Love y'all.
Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Be sure you come back for the Ironworks Tuesday, Friday mornings, and again for Have No Sphere next Friday evening. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe now. Just double check. You never can tell. Don't trust YouTube to keep you subscribed. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments what you thought of us, what you thought of the show, what you thought of JP. Good or bad. We're curious. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Be good. Be well. Think well. Love you. Bye-bye.
If I don't look now and I don't back down, maybe it'll all work out. I know I can't, oh no. I know I can't, oh no. There's gotta be some place, and I know I can't, oh no. I know I can't, oh no. I know I can't, oh no. There's gotta be some place, and I know I can't, oh no.